Welcome back. You're with us on the newsroom. We shift our attention now to a report exclusively accessed by India Today, which lays out the government's strategy on Kashmir. The government believes that there is absolutely no point in talking to the Hurriyat conference because Hurriyat leaders have been completely marginalized in what appears to be a leaderless movement. A movement which the government believes is being fueled by the 3,000 odd new Jamiyat mosques that have come out in the valley in the last few years. The government believes that the current protest is being undertaken with the intent of violently overthrowing the democratically elected government with the hope of establishing an Islamic caliphate. This is an India Today exclusive.
Who's fueling the endless Kashmir unrest? Who's sitting quietly in the shadows, stoking the violence? Several weeks after the valley exploded in the aftermath of terrorist Burhan Wani's killing, the government has finally drawn up a list of startling facts in a sensitive report accessed first and exclusively by India Today. First, the government at the highest levels has concluded that the current round of protest is being fueled by the 3,000 odd new Jamiat-backed mosques that have come up in the Kashmir valley. The report also states that the latest round of protest is inspired by the ideology of the ISIS. And the ultimate objective is to seek the violent overthrow of the current government with the aim of creating a theocratic state found on hardline Talibanized principles. Taking these startling facts into account, the government has finalized a fresh strategy, details of which you're hearing about first here on India Today. The Modi government will work to sideline and silence the Hurriyat, given they have no power. The new strategy also deprioritizes all talks of increased autonomy. There will be no consideration on revoking AFSPA at this time. Establish a clear upper hand for security forces, especially in rural parts of Kashmir. Clear message that Azadi is not and will never be a possibility. The new facts and new strategy are the government's way of saying enough is enough. Endorsed by the Prime Minister himself, a tense valley now gets a new hand. With Rahul Kawal in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
What the government is indicating is very, very significant, that the purpose of this current agitation is not to demand greater autonomy, but to violently overthrow the current democratically elected government and to work towards the establishment of a theocratic state run with ISIS-like principles. This is the first time any such assessment has come out in the public domain, and to talk about this, I'm joined by Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi, National Spokesperson for the Bharatiya Janata Party. Shabnam Lone, activist from Jammu and Kashmir, is joining us on this broadcast as well. Dr. Trivedi, I want to go across to you first, because this is based on what the security apparatus is telling the government, the feedback received from the various ministers who travelled to Jammu and Kashmir as part of that all-party delegation, the other inputs received from Kashmir. But a lot of the government's critics will say that because the government is not being able to bring the situation under control, therefore the spectre of an ISIS state, therefore the spectre of violent overthrow of the democratically elected government, all of this is being built to somehow try and hide the government's failures. Dr. Trivedi.
I'm not privy to any such specific information as you are telling, but of course it is quite clear and pertinent in the last several months, 2 months since the problem is started. When government is taking utmost concern, right from day one, Home Minister has not only talked to the all parties concerned in Jammu Kashmir, but also at the national level. In the last 1.5 months, 3 visits of Home Minister to Jammu Kashmir. Prime Minister was abroad. As soon as he came back, immediately he had a meeting about Jammu Kashmir. Then we are having an all-party meeting here, all-party meeting there. The entire parliament has discussed. But still, if something is going on in the favor of terrorists, it means there is a strong point of suspicion.
Shabnam Lone, at the highest levels, the government believes that the ultimate objective of the current agitation is to establish an ISIS-inspired caliphate, that the space for autonomy has shrunk, that autonomous have no space in Kashmir now, and therefore there is no way that there can be any sign of weakness from the Indian state, because that will only fuel this theocratic agenda even more. How do you respond to this latest assessment by the government, Ms. Lone?
Well, Rahul, first of all, let me tell you, what is Kashmir all about at this time? Kashmir is a canopy of cataclysmic constitutional misdemeanors and a policy that is pelting the Kashmiri. The question is, this assessment, I would have said, I wouldn't have negated it completely. Yes, there has been a surge in radicalism during the past few years. Yes, it is correct that we have had mosques coming up, and we see younger children, boys and girls, somehow, going about towards this radical surge. But that number is less. The question today is why this report has come about now, and who has assessed this report. This report has been assessed, I feel, on this basis, the desperation of this government, the BJP-PDP alliance, to stay in power.
You're again making that point I asked in my first question, that this in some senses indicates the weakening of the writ of the Indian state, because your police forces are not being able to bring the situation under control for 2 months now. Therefore, you try and make it seem as if it's part of a larger global Islamic conspiracy where there's a Islamic caliphate that they're trying to build. She's saying, okay, radicalism is growing, but that's not addressing the main problem. The issue is the angst of the Kashmiri youth, which you're not being able to answer. How do you respond to Shabnam Noon, Dr. Trivedi?
The situation is deteriorating in Jammu and Kashmir. We are consistently facing problems. There is a consistent failure of the previous governments who have successively instigated, promoted, or in a way, indirectly increased the psychological confidence of those separatist forces. That's why the situation is there at present. As far as BJP or NDA government is concerned, we are very clear that we will always be sympathetic and passionate towards Kashmiris. As giving 2 examples, the issue of pellet gun. We have constituted a committee and the report has come and it is being implemented. As far as those who are injured, all injured who was required to get treatment out of Jammu and Kashmir are being provided. But definitely we will not tolerate if somebody wants to celebrate the death of security personnel. This cannot be termed as insaniyat.
When the all-party delegation reaches out to the Hurriyat, Sayyid Ali Gilani says, I don't want to meet you. This is not insaniyat, this is not believing in Jamhuriyat, this is not even the idea of Kashmiriyat. And therefore the government has a problem. When it says, the space for autonomy is shrinking, who do you have a conversation with? They believe that the Hurriyat doesn't even control these protests. That is, these 3,000 odd Jamiyat run mosques who control these protesters who are being funded from the ISI. Is that not all true?
First of all, when the delegation came, the consensus needs to be built in Delhi. There was no consensus within the delegation, whether to meet Hurriyat or not. They decided it at the last minute out here. One. Secondly, the delegation came when Kashmir is in the grip of a very, very bloody summer 2016, which has now spilled into an autumn of extreme discontent. Now, this is the easiest reason to say is that, look here, it is a Wahhabi uprising, and then that is why now we have to save Kashmir. That is not the fact. The fact is, this entire uprising took place after Burhan Wani's killing.
Dr. Trivedi, my question is, when the government indicates there will be no dialogue with the Hurriyat, when it indicates that the mainstream parties are currently counting for very little, that they're also losing ground, what that essentially means is you're indicating that there will be a military solution, that there will be a security solution to this. We've tried that approach as well. Can there be a security solution, a military solution to a problem like Kashmir? Several army generals have spoken out and spoken about the need for some kind of a political outreach. The government seems to be closing its door on any form of political outreach.
This shows that the government is going overboard to reach out all the political stakeholders and all the socio-cultural aspects of Jammu and Kashmir. And just I would like to say one more thing. In the parliamentary speech of Dr. Karan Singh, who is one of the most respected leaders of Jammu and Kashmir, he has said that the Kashmiriyat includes both Hazrat Bal and Amarnath. But those who do not believe in this principle, then it becomes very difficult. And one more thing I would like to say, we cannot give a final solution in a debate, but I would like to say that those who believe in the theocratic state or the theocratic religious state, the example is there, the Pakistan, which cannot contain the entire country just on the basis of religion, because they cannot contain the regional identity. They could not contain the Bengali identity, they could not contain the Baluchi identity, they could not contain the Kashmiri identity, they could not contain the Sindhi identity or Gilgit-Baltistan identity or the Pakhtun identity.
Final comment from Shabnam Lone as well.
No, Rahul, then same is the case with the Vishwa Hindu Parishad. Same is the case with those people who killed Akhlaq. So you cannot push this theocratic theory state. It is just, the BJP and the PDP combined want to stay in power. A bullet is the solution. Today there was a write-up on my Twitter. You see, Digital India, what it had done, a poem was put on this Digital India, which was praising the Indian army. Go and kill more people in Kashmir. You are
Okay, final words from Dr. Trivedi, that as word goes out that this is what the government believes, there's a concern about whether this will worsen the situation or will it help bring the situation under control. Dr. Trivedi, final quick words.
I just want to say that we do not believe in any religious theocratic identity. We do not only just love the land of Kashmir, but we also love the people of Kashmir, as Home Minister had said categorically.
Clearly the government taking a very strong position that there can be no sign of weakness. People can't believe that Azadi is around the corner. They need to make their peace with the current situation and they need to figure out ways of bringing their life back on track. It's a strong position. Whether it yields the required results is something we will have to wait and see. Thank you very much, Shabnam Lone, Sudhanshu Trivedi, for joining us on the newsroom.